I'm Camille. I started my journey in logistics 5 years ago when I joined Asda. I work as a implementation manager slash conversion shift manager within Asda's future project.
Hi, I'm Robert. I'm a conversion department manager with Asda's future project. I started with Asda 8 years ago, just coming up to 9 years ago, as a warehouse operative at Didcot ADC.
Rob, so what do you think is digital technology in logistics, and why do you think it's important today?
I think digital technology in logistics is becoming quite a massive part of what it is that we do. You've still got a large aspect of the people side of it, but the way that the people interact in the depots in logistics is being streamlined and improved through digital technology. Everything from the systems that we use to how we pick cases and how we transport them to the stores.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think when I first joined Asda, I didn't realize how much technology is involved in logistics. And I think bettering that and, like right now where we're going into Manhattan Active, rolling out depots, there's so many little bits and pieces that, make the operation much better. And I think it's important to keep going. And I think there's a lot of potential in the future as well. And like you said, all in all, like logistics, it is all about people, isn't it? If working with technology, that's the only way to make it better, isn't it?
I think so. I think the way that everything's changed, even just in the last 8 years, makes it far easier to be part of digital technology and logistics.
No, 100%. Tell me about your journey in logistics so far. So how did you get first involved in the sector, and how did your role evolve with the rise in digital technology?
So when I first started with Asda at Didcot, it was as a warehouse operative, and I found out about the role from my dad, who was a driver at the time. I started in 2016 and very quickly gained an interest in the management side of it. When I had the opportunity to step up and progress to that level, I was introduced to everything that goes on in the background where you use technology to keep the operation going. It didn't take me very long to find that I liked to explore what could be done through that technology, how it could change things, how it could try and improve things, and it allowed me to develop my knowledge and my skills with technology. Ultimately, that led to about 8 years later joining Asda's future project team, where we've been able to go out and convert depots to entire new warehouse management systems in quite a short space of time. And it's really piqued my interest and really sort of encouraged me to carry on doing what I did in the first place, which was to look for those little niche bits of the technology. How can I change things? How can I improve things in the way that things are done?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And obviously working with you, Rob, as well, like you've always looked at better opportunities and highlighting the issues within the technology and the design, to make changes. Like, when you started doing SAP and et cetera, isn't it? You were a big part of the testing and highlighting those issues to get it sorted. But no, I can relate to yourself as well. My story started 5 years ago in Asda. I also joined as a warehouse operative. I was picking in a chill distribution center. It feels like such a long time ago, although it's not really. But it marks COVID because I started in 2020, so that definitely will always stick with me. But no, I remember when I joined Asda, honestly, I thought I'll be there for three months max. I think if you ask anyone who works at Asda, that's how I would probably said it, especially for ALS. But no, I was very intrigued, like yourself, like how it operates. I never really thought that there's so much that goes into it technology-wise to track the product from A to Z. And I always had an eye on the transport department. I don't know why. I was very intrigued. So obviously within 2 years, I managed to become a transport department manager. So I was managing lorry drivers, and that was another piece of logistics and technology, how we managed this delivery into the store, because I've seen the part of like receiving the stock coming in, etc. And another 2 years later, I thought I want a bit more, and obviously the opportunity came up in the future project, and I joined, and that even opened my eyes even more, because again, I did not know how many people you've got involved and how important it is, like technology. Because when you look at Manhattan Active that we use, there's so many details to it. There's so many things that you can track. There's so many like footprints as well, isn't it, that you would never think of.
So I think, and it is something that you said without saying, but having that mindset of I want to do something different, I want to go further, I want to find out, is so important to be able to progress and make a bit of a headway with technology, especially in logistics.
Right, so what does a typical day or week look like in your role, Rob?
At the moment, typical day, week, as Nick said, starts with a lot of travel. Drive several hours up and down the country to a depot. At the moment, for me, that's Wynyard, up in Middlesbrough. Arrive on site, have a chat with site, make sure that everything's going all right for them, and then start looking at how the conversion's going to go for Wynyard, and trying to see if there's anything that we can do, where we are with our cutover sheets. What different things can we tackle that week.
And you also engage a lot of like different stakeholders, isn't it? Like a lot of people that work in tech, and you've got SAP config, isn't it? Manhattan.
Definitely.
All of that.
Just engaging with those teams around the network as to how different parts of the technology build are coming along. Is there anything that I need to be aware of, or that I need to cascade to my team on site? Do we need to update training documents or SOPs? Do we need to even have a chat with site about different ways of working as we go live? That's generally what takes up most of my week at the moment.
No, I can definitely relate to yourself regarding the traveling. There is a lot of traveling going on, but it's nice, isn't it? It's nice to go into different depots, go into different parts of the project and learn new things, As for myself as well, I live in London, and, when you need to travel to Washington, that is a fun drive, but it's exciting because, you've got opportunities where you meet people who design the system that we use. And it's exciting to ask those questions and learn about it and how it's supposed to look. And looking back at where I started within the project and where the system was at that point and how it evolved and how better it got, it's really exciting, isn't it? And obviously for me, I can't say that every day is the same, isn't it? Every day is different, and you're doing different parts within the project, but it's all about, isn't it, managing your team, stakeholders, engaging with the sites, engaging with different teams such as SAP, Manhattan, and ensuring that the build of the system is where we need it to be for our depots, isn't it?
Definitely. The logistics sector is transforming with technology. Can you explain what kind of digital systems you have worked with and how they are changing the way logistics operate?
So for myself, primarily, I've worked with Manhattan and SAP mostly, obviously GLS and RLog, but those are Walmart-owned systems. So it is interesting to see how Manhattan and SAP connect to each other and what different parts of the business they manage. So as you know, like SAP is primarily financials, like ordering and etc. And Manhattan is what we use to basically handle and transfer the stock itself. And when you look at Manhattan and how it manages a warehouse, like it is quite impressive, isn't it? Like there's so much traceability, so much data you can analyze. And I know, like, for example, we've got ecosystem coming as well, which will have data worth of 4 years and etc., which is going to help the company do the analysis and make it better going forward. So, that will be your ordering, managing of your stock, managing your warehouse, your time, and, all of those things. But yeah, what about yourself though?
I think you're absolutely spot on with that. I think one of the things that I particularly like is the interconnectivity between the different systems. So, certainly with Manhattan, the way that it's set up and the way that it's built, the way that it's capable of talking to other systems to receive information, to process information, and how that ultimately that can be streamlined to a really purpose-built system for certainly for Asda logistics, but it's also available to use in anything really, the way that it works.
No, 100%. And when you think about it, like when we first started and where, Manhattan was there and where SAP was, at the very beginning, wasn't it? And how many different steps and suggestions we made to make it better, and especially like for us, because we're from the ALS side, we're the boots on the ground. We know how a depot operates. We know what a depot needs to make it better, isn't it? And, making those suggestions, how to make it more efficient and more effective, isn't it? Is very important. And it's nice to see that it is happening and what impact it does actually have on the business.
Yeah, having the operational experience definitely helps us identify what can change and what can be improved. And what's realistic to improve as well.
No, 100%, yeah.
Camille, you've previously worked in transport. How do the new systems that have been brought in help you manage the fleet better now compared to when you first joined Asda?
Oh, that's a good question, Rob. In transport, to be fair, I never actually thought that there would be so many different systems to get a delivery into a store, but obviously primarily we're using Microlize, which was our plan. We got it in, got your drivers onto the runs to get, all the deliveries in. We had Vision, which is managing drivers' compliance. We had a Smart Yard. We had Quintech to manage our fleet, to manage, such things as VORs, I never understood how many complexities there are within transport to manage that side of business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and definitely from actually inside the warehouse, something like Quintech, just simply getting a message to the shunter to get a trailer onto a bay at the right place and the right time.
I completely forgot. We used to use the radios, isn't it?
Yeah, we used to use radios or run outside and shout to them, but being able to select it now on the PC and just they get the message instantly saying this is where we want this trailer. That from an operational perspective inside the warehouse is a massive change and improvement.
And it made it better as well, isn't it? Because you've got better communication. You clearly can see what bay or what trailer is on, isn't it? Yeah. From myself, from transport perspective, I had the visibility of what my shunter is doing, and I was able to manage them and gather that data. Yeah. So no, 100%, that was a big positive improvement, wasn't it? Yeah.
What challenges have you faced when implementing new digital solutions, and how did you overcome them?
We went into a depot that is a standalone depot, completely unique to everything else, isn't it? The way they operate. Yeah. And it was a bit of a shock, isn't it? Because you need to understand the operation itself. And I think the challenge was that it was first of its kind. And obviously we had the design, we had the build of the technology and the system, but we weren't sure exactly if it's going to work or not, as funny as that sounds. But we made it work, isn't it? Like engaging with Manhattan, engaging with external stakeholders, with SAP teams as well, to make it better. Looking back, even a couple of months later, when you look back at the process and the operation, you start nitpicking and seeing little bits, how you can make it better, how to go back and change it. And, for me, it was really nice to see that, you give that little suggestion, as in like take out a prompt for a colleague, when they're doing a receiving process, take that prompt out. It'll give a couple of seconds back into the operation, and that makes a big improvement. It makes it more efficient, isn't it? Yeah. And going forward, for depots such as ERC, which is the Electrical Return Centre, they've got much better traceability now of their stock, of where the stock is going, and they can manage their operation in much better way, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's very much the same for me. As the site lead at Wynyard, it's a first in type depot. It's the first complex depot that we're going to convert in terms of the clothing side of things, and understanding their processes as they are now has allowed me to go back and feed back to the teams and the stakeholders that actually something needs to look like this. The way that you're building Manhattan Active needs to reflect what they're currently doing, but with that traceability aspect, with a bit of streamlining or to make it faster and more efficient for them.
So Rob, you've had a key role in testing and leading SAP financial solution implementation. Can you walk us through the process and the importance of this technology in logistics operation?
Yeah, so the SAP financial solution in the background for Manhattan Active, I initially got involved in the testing with it in May last year.
Yeah, it's coming up to a year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming up to a year now. And it was initially just a few Zoom calls or team calls talking about what we can do, how we can go about testing it, and what sort of was required, who was required to get involved in that. Once I started testing, it turned out to be a really unique opportunity for myself to identify where things were different, where they didn't work against what we currently had with Manhattan Active, and how that could impact further down the line. It turned out that I was able to feed those back to the correct stakeholders and then be able to get solutions in place with that testing prior to going live in Yorkshire Crosstalk with SAP Manhattan.
So where you started at the beginning, because I know you was one of the first people, isn't it, like to from our team at least, like to join SAP and etc. So if you compare where SAP was then and where it is now, is there like a big difference? Do you think like the testing that you did and the things that you've highlighted were taken into account?
Yeah, they were definitely taken into account, and the difference in its performance now against where we were initially is quite amazing. It's a lot more of it's automated now and doesn't require any manual intervention. There is still aspects that do, and we are currently still testing them, and I'd love to get involved in that again. But where it is at the moment is much further along than where it was to begin with.
It's nice to see how it evolves, isn't it?
Yeah.
So why should young people consider a career in logistics with a focus on digital technology? What opportunities are there for growth and innovation in this sector?
I think that it's quite an endless sector in terms of what's available and what's out there and what can happen. I don't think there's any limits to it, and it will continue to evolve and expand and improve over time. And for young people to get involved while they are still young, they then have their whole careers that they can continue to grow into that role and continue to learn more and focus more on the technology side. And it's really an endless stream of what you can do.
No, I agree with you, Rob. I think, for young people in logistics, there's a lot of opportunities as well. And when I look back when I started at Asda, what it was and how it is now, and the technology and how it changed, and the new technologies that we have implemented, there's a lot of potential, isn't it? And I think in the future, it's probably going to take a turn where it's going to be more automated and etc. But I think for anyone who wants to join logistics, just be hungry to learn, just be hungry to look into the future and how to make things better. Don't be scared to make decisions, suggestions as well to make things better, because, me and sometimes, it's all about brainstorming. It's those little ideas that can make a very big difference, So it's definitely a sector that I did not think I was going to join. But I think, logistics isn't as, it's not streamed. It's not, it doesn't shout, come and join us. Like, people usually, like young people like myself as well, I started in retail and I didn't know about logistics in that sense. And there's far much to it. And, there's a lot of things that you can learn and your career can definitely grow and shoot. Like, look at myself and yourself, isn't it? Like, we've managed to climb the career ladder within a few years. And, don't think we're going to stop there, are we?
I don't intend to stop, ever. So, looking ahead, what do you hope to achieve with your role in digital technology and logistics?
I think for me personally, I love to make a positive change. So I love to get involved in, suggesting new things, how we can make things better. And that's why I've enjoyed being part of this project as well. It's because I feel like our say and our suggestions matter and it can have a big positive impact. So for myself, I'd like to stay within the technology sector within Asda and grow, see the company grow and make things better and, achieve our goals. Yeah. What about yourself, Rob? What do you would like to achieve within technology and logistics?
I'd definitely like to continue what it is that I'm doing now, very much with focus on finding solutions for things.
Yeah.
To be able to go into a place, into a warehouse, and identify where improvements can be made, where things aren't quite working as they perhaps could or as quickly as they could, and then how we can apply the technology that we have to streamline them and make them more efficient. That's something that I'd quite like to do.
No, absolutely. It is, it's amazing to see how, the data that we collect, and then you can prove it, isn't it? How, like, build a case in a sense, isn't it?
Yeah.
With the data provided, how you can make things better and how important it can be. Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%.